All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here. It's Smirking Gun, and we are finally back talking about episode 6 of The Fall of the House. Usher on Netflix, Mike Flanagan, and all the other wonderful people that put this show together. Uh, yeah, we're going to be jumping right in. So, if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. Uh, and full spoilers, man. Full freaking spoilers. Because, I mean, I'm just really loving the whole just trying to figure out what's going on in the story part of this. And, watching, poor old Tamerlane uh, bite it in this is just, oof. It's really asking the question, like, for me, like, because again, I'm not reading into any of this. I'm not looking up stuff to cheat. I'm letting this all happen so that when it all gets put together, it's new. And I've been talking about this a little bit about really liking that I don't always know the source material for stuff. I enjoy things so much better when I'm not judging it through that lens. Just saying. I'm just saying. So anyway, this is Tamerlane's big episode. It's called Goldbug. Uh, boy oh boy. Talk about like basically being your own worst enemy. Something that I'm very familiar with. Um, that's in the end, like one of the big things is that's with poor Tamerlane. But her story, we saw it already where she was not getting any sleep. She told the guy to get, like he left her. She told him to get lost, and she's blacking out now, right? She's completely blacking out. And I want to talk just a little bit about Samantha Sloyan, who plays Tamerlane, because if you haven't seen Midnight Mass, watch Midnight Mass on Netflix. It's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life as far as TV shows go, as far as any kind of entertainment goes. And her character in that is so like that. This actress is fantastic to be able to give like such significant and precise and uh, really such like complete opposite characters. Being able to have such a range. Like she's so like she was one of like she was so good in it in Midnight Mass that I mean I hated her like Cersei Lannister basically. You know what I'm saying? When somebody can get you like that, and then in this, somebody who just is so driven by like there's a lot of reasons to have drive, but her reason for drive is just really again what she's been taught. She's emulating Madeline. You know what I mean. She wants to be the next Madeline. She sees that that's for her that's the way to be. And when like when you hear more about like her own relationship with her husband and basically how they they looked for him, they found him, and this happens amongst people, not those of us usually down here on the ground, but up there in the sky where the one percenters live, some crazy shit goes down. Arranged marriages aren't just for like when you hear the stories that happen that come out of Asia and places like that, like certain sections of the world still have this kind of thing. But they do it like it's like no, it's basically the same thing because it was like it was a mutually beneficial thing for families and stuff to make money off of. And her husband is no different. Like he actually loves her. He actually is in this, but for her, as he finds out, like this isn't the same. Even though she does, like somewhere deep down, she knows she loves him. She knows she cares about him. She knows she needs him, but she can't. If it means not having the other thing, if it means sacrificing the thing that she's building, then she'll throw it all out the window. And the fact that she finds this out, and realizes too late, it's a warning. for it's one of those great message stories of we don't have all the time in the world, you know. So try to, I don't know. That is something that everybody can read into on their own, I think. But her blacking out, changing her speech, writing all like violently in there, just seeing all kinds of stuff that's not there, the mystery box, insomnia. Now, insomnia is another thing I can relate to, man. Oh my goodness. And most people probably can. If you've ever had a real serious bout of insomnia, you're just laying there like freaking Edward Norton in Fight Club, where it's just like to the point where you go to the doctor and ask, can you die of insomnia? I mean, it messes you up. And if you choose to stay up, it messes you up. I once, and I'll probably end up bringing this up in the future too, but like I once stayed up for 3 days watching something. Like I was binge watching something, and I stayed up for 3 days. I was on vacation from work. It was nuts. Okay, I was drinking back then. That's all I'll say. But honestly, I was actually not. I was during those 3 days. I think it was Mountain Dew and weed. I don't think I was really drinking. I think I knew that if I was drinking, I wouldn't be able to like stay up for 3 days. So I just smoked pot and drank Mountain Dew. And let me tell you something. After 3 days, it was not pretty. I don't know if I was seeing shit or not, but it was not pretty. Uh, so we jump to after that. Yeah, that's a nice little story, right? This is my channel, folks. If you're not used to it by now, get used to it. This is how it goes. This is how I talk. All right, so we got Roderick, and he's sitting there talking about, like, because August is like, you know, why you clearly weren't at these places, even though he was there for Victory. He's like, oh, they told me. So we know that his disease is getting really, really bad. He sees them as they died. And as much as it is definitely, you can blame stuff on his uh, dementia, he's also seeing this stuff. Like he's hearing this stuff. It's being told to him. Like whatever Verna, aka Raven, is doing, he's still piped in, so he knows he's being tortured. And when he cuts to the speech about how he got, and again, one of the greatest things about all these Mike Flanagan things, and sometimes people just can't stand it, is all the great dialogue, the long dialogue, the great stories and stuff. If you don't like that kind of thing, man, I just love great dialogue. And when he's describing the process of getting this Egyptian like gems and that process, and then turning it around and talking about how he, after he got these things for his sister, he's like, I ripped through time to get these for my sister. Like, it's just these people are like on another level. But when Madeline comes in and he's covered in blood, he's got the heart, so we already know what he did to get that, right? Um, it's horrendous to look at, and again, it's like business as usual, though. You know what I'm saying? Like anyone else walks in that room, any other regular person walks into the situation, they're calling the cops, they're calling the hospital. These people keep everything in house, and it's like all non-plus. Like they're so numb to madness. You know what I'm saying? But he's got the mechanical heart, and the only thing that snaps him out of it is when they talk about the fact that they could lose this company because Victorine had a board seat. And I think Freddie probably does too. I'm not sure. But when they started talking about losing the company, suddenly Roderick kind of pops out. But he's choosing to be all capitalist cavalier and go after, threaten the board rather than look over Verna. Because, and again, Madeline knows this, he knows this, he is afraid to face it. So he's still, even though he's like, I've got something to do, he's not doing the thing he needs to do, which is face the past. But if he did that, then we wouldn't have as many cool parts to the story. So we then switch over to Juno really quick. And I was looking at how she's downing these Ligadone pills. And all I kept thinking was like, are they using her to strengthen her heart to give Roderick a heart? I don't know. It feels like there's something still really awful going on there. Because they just keep making a point of this. Like, what's the point of her character? Outside of we needed another mother? No, we didn't. There has to be a point. And I feel like it's got to do with that. Because at this point, especially after this episode and things that go down and things that get talked about, I mean, it's all expect anything. I guess we have to go to another funeral. That's how Freddy reacts. He, again, when he's talking about the rest of the kids, his siblings, they weren't right. They weren't really Ushers. And his daughter's look on her face, that look of someone who trusted her dad her whole life. This is the man that, she loves him. And this man is acting like nobody, he never did in his whole life. And that position that you put a kid in when you just constantly, you can see it on her face. She's still doing what he asks, but there's this, almost like you can see the relationship crumbling as he continues to say things that don't make sense. And she's trying to make sense of it. And especially as he starts ramping it up and talking about her mom and stuff. His performance just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And I think he definitely, again, everybody on these shows deserve Emmys every time. Every single time. There's at least 2 or 3 performances or more in one of these Mike Flanagan shows that should get awards. But he really wants his daughter gone, right? He really, because when she leaves, we know what he's doing now. And it's so, I kept thinking that it was he was worried about being the mole or something. But really all it is it's about trust. But the thing is, like I said, he feels like a closeted gay man who's upset with his wife for possibly cheating on him, but I don't think he's interested in her sexually. But I might be reading too far into that. It's just that he really reads like that. And so to do what he's doing, he's believing his own, it's next level. So we get to our brand versus our marriage, where they finally have the big blow up, where she even kind of snaps out of it for a second, right? Tamerlane is saying all these horrible things to this poor guy. At this point, I am going to call him a poor guy. He's a victim of everything too. The thing is him getting out is probably the best thing. Get as far away from her and this family as possible, because what she's in one sentence, she's threatening him with the prenup about how you come in with nothing, everything, less than nothing if she feels like. And then she, does a complete just reverse and starts going, I don't know what's going on, but and he was there. He was there and he was listening. But as soon as she said, and maybe it was before this, I don't know, but it felt like as soon as she said that it's about more than just Roderick and Madeline. And it was I was oh, there it is. There is her right there. And she's obsessed with being like them. She's obsessed with taking their place. she's dying for the spotlight. She's dying for what they have. And there's the keys just sitting there. I love that we don't see him leave. I love the way that they turn the shot so that we can't tell if he's maybe standing there when we know he's not. But they do it on purpose to like flip it so that you can't see. And then you just see the keys. Like that is just great storytelling. It's so subtle. It's so simple. Just changing the way the shot is so that you don't know. And so right after that, we've got like frickin' Roderick swinging his sword around, talking about how he's goddamn immortal. And Lenore comes in, and when he starts talking about that, everything that we see is a dream within a dream, talking about how sometimes things are just off. It's just, it's, again, this is a girl, she's looking at her grandfather too. Like she's seeing the whole family just fall apart. This poor girl is just bearing witness. And I feel like she's going to be a victim, right? She's probably going to be a victim. I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad. But every time that I get through, I'm getting through one of these Mike Flanagan shows, I got to remind myself, Midnight Mass, Midnight Mass. Remember what he does to the characters in Midnight Mass. Stop being like, stop acting like you haven't seen this before, and I mean that in the best possible way. So you just better get used to pain when you're watching a Mike Flanagan show. And again, it's like normally I would hate watching something like this, but it's done so well. It's just done so well that you can't sit there and marvel at it. It's like tragedy. And then you might not watch it all the time. I don't watch all these the Haunting of Bly Manor or a Hill House and any of that stuff over and over and over again. But like it's something good to pull out like once every 5 years or something. I don't know, maybe less. So we got Mark Hamill's, and he's in the thumbnail because fuck it, it's Mark Hamill, uh, doing his Arthur Penn thing where he just goes wherever he wants, takes whatever he wants out of places, tells cops they can't take this, that, and the other, and it's like the power. Like he's just a guy. Somebody gave him the power to do this, but he's the one with the balls to do it. He's the one that's standing there just like dead eyeing these cops. It's just he's just so he everybody again just doing such a good job. But he does find Clem Pamela's address, and we find out that she's got their child at home. He's standing in front of it. I love it. And we know she knows we're looking for her. But Madeline's talking about something interesting in this scene around that time. And it's just a kind of like a quick, I was almost not paying attention, but she was talking about consciousness mapping. The way to like map our consciousness so we can live forever basically digitally in a way. You know what I mean? And with all the talk about immortality, I feel like there's some foreshadowing going on for sure. But they talk about Arthur here. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I got to put Hamill in the thumbnail. Because when Roderick is talking about Arthur to uh, August, he's talking about how like he did this whole thing where he's circumnavigating the globe and everything was fine until he gets to the North Pole, and you keep wanting to like he tells the story to the kids, but he stops after he gets there, and Roderick saw all these assumptions, or not assumptions, but like theories about whether he killed a man or not, did something terrible, pissed off the edge of the world. But he comes back with this story about that the earth is hollow. And I was like, okay, all right, lay it on me, baby. That he finds this realm out of time and space, this like island at the top of the world called Ultima Thule. And it made me think of the Assassin's Creed, the early Assassin's Creed games where they were dealing with the people that were like before us. And if for some reason it made me think of that, and I'm like, I kind of hope that that's somehow tied in here, even though it's just even if it's not, it's just a fucking amazing story to tell about somebody else's life, like secondhand or third hand or whatever. Like he's telling somebody else what he heard secondhand from somebody. Like it's just most stories like that aren't very interesting. But I really want to know what happened to Arthur Pym. And they get into this kind of argument, and then he's like, talking about, how he, got himself, like Roderick got August in trouble with his job, lost his job, and it's all water under the boom, and everything explodes in glass to the point where it even looked like August fell over, but it was like what Roderick saw, but the reality was that Roderick's on the ground and he's the one like still having to have August pull him up. And at this point, August is like, what? I mean, he's even more like trying to figure out. But this was a point where I was like, oh my gosh, are they blowing up this scene? Thankfully, they weren't yet. But of course, Tamerlane's there, cut, broken neck, bloody, cut all over the place, and you're like, how the hell did that happen? Well, we find out soon. Um, and we're also, when they talk about like how he got him fired and everything, right? They suddenly go back to what they had to do to get the company away from Rufus, which was they had to go in and photocopy every single piece of paper so that they could prove fraud, and every count is a felony. But they do bring up that if Rufus finds out, he will kill them. And then there's another thing that sounds like foreshadowing is when uh, Roderick's first wife uh, talks about the danger and the risk, and do they know it? And if you do, then I'm with you. But like, she is not in this show, so I'm wondering what happens to Katie Parker. Does something happen to her? And even more than that, as it keeps getting deeper, that they find out that the bar was never a bar. So where the hell did they go? It was 5 minutes from Fortunato. Where did they go? And it just keeps peeling back, like getting crazier and more mysterious. Where we see Verna with David Koch, Zuckerberg, McConnell, Trump, Geddes, Randolph Hearst, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, all these guys going all the way back to 1901. And Roderick pretending like, oh, no, no, no. And there's this conversation, and I'm sure we're going to get it. I'm not even going to speculate anymore because Verna's like an invisible witch. I don't even know. I did like the line, though, where she goes, that madness being the loftiest. Is madness the loftiest of intelligence? And then my jaw went on the floor. Okay, we got to talk about what Freddie does to his wife. Who, boy, okay, who needs Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers and all the other slashers? You've got Freddy, Usher, who, after his wife is found to be talking, he puts her in a drug-induced, basically, state where she can't speak, but she is aware of everything around her. He's given her like a paralytic, like an extreme. I think that's what it would be. Something very, very strong that keeps you. It's like that story in one of Stephen King's anthology books, where it was the guy on autopsy, the autopsy one, where the guy was still awake while somebody was cutting him open. And what he's doing to her, because he's talking about like trust, and again, it's this madness of like he can't trust her. He doesn't even give her a chance to tell him. It's all about, well, you were fucking Perry. He doesn't even give her a chance. And that look of fear on her face, like Although I do got to give it up to Henry Thomas's bowling skills for picking up that spare. And then we have the end. I'm trying not to take as long with this, but the conversation goes the way it goes. Some of these will be shorter, some of these are longer. Talking about men. Madeline and Tamerlane are backstage talking about men and how, like, why do they always want to have kids? And that when they're immortal, all they want to do is fuck. And when they find out they're not immortal, all they want to do is fuck. So apparently, I'll read between the lines there. And Tamerlane just has her, she goes out there. She shouldn't have done this. They wanted this for the company, though. They needed it for the company. Roderick's not even there. And Madeline, man, you can't even tell. Like, to me, Madeline is almost there as like to trap. Like, yeah, okay, if this doesn't work out, if something happens to Tamerlane, fine. But I'm gonna look for Verna, which is what happens. I mean, she's losing it. She doesn't even know where she is, like practically, in my opinion. Like, she goes out there, she sees somebody else. She's. This is all the spell, though. I feel like to make her go nuts because she's seeing Verna in the audience. But is that is that actually Verna's influence or not? Because she even talks about how some of this is not about you. Some of this isn't happening because of you. So I think a lot of what happened to Tamerlane was hallucinatory at first. That whole obsession of the woman that's pretending to be her, the better version of her, the one that could actually be there for her husband instead of her being there, you know, herself, instead of using a surrogate. And that guilt she has about it, which she starts seeing the sex tape play that's not really there, and Verna in the audience, in which she throws the freaking microphone stand at Juno, which I thought killed her. I thought it killed her. I mean, it really looked like it. I didn't mean to laugh at that part either. It was just like, oh, because it really was almost comedic. Like, you could just tell something bad was going to happen to Juno. But Madeline does see Verna. She goes right up to her and she poofs out into nothing in front of our eyes. So it didn't just happen in front of Madeline, it happened to us too. It was there. She was there. Something was there. And now it's like ash in her hands. And again, what does that mean? Whose ashes were those supposed to be? Who died? Who got burned up? Did anybody get burned up? But as Tamerlane goes home and suffering all her hallucinations, finding out that she absorbed her twin in utero. I mean, I know it's a late, like an 11th hour character moment, but like it's just another little dig on her character of like her drive to be like first best, talking about how she feels about the other siblings, and like it would just it's just to add the fact that she absorbed her twin in utero is just amazing. But they talk about how you're your own worst enemy. Basically, she knows that she did this all to herself, and Verna telling her, the voice in the head saying, "Look, this part that's happening right now, this isn't, you. This is me doing this to you." And she's basically telling her, you could just sit still. I could just take you out quietly. That you're making this worse on yourself. As she shatters all the mirrors and the glass is flying into her, and she shatters the glass on the bed, and that jump. Okay, kids, don't jump on the bed if you have a mirror and you're swinging around a poker, because the way they slowed that down, and they've cut away from the deaths, man. They've cut away from some of these deaths. This was a great slow motion shot of I know it's all not, some of this is visual effects, but like her going up and just impaling herself on all the glass. It was like, oh man. And that's the end of the episode. Of course, the hard cut. Now we've got Freddie's big episode next. So Henry Thomas, get ready to go out with a bang. I can't even imagine what the pendulum version of that is going to be. I mean, they were watching it in this episode as a preview. Is like, I just every episode I'm just so excited about. I get so giddy about like, oh my god, what horrible thing is going to happen in the best possible way. So if you're enjoying listening to me talk about it, don't forget to check out the other ones, and we'll be back doing another one as soon as sooner rather than later, hopefully in the next day or so. So have a great night, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.